Morning, y'all. We're back with another jaywalking. Cold this morning. We're getting in a little bit of movement before work. Just ran a mile. We're gonna do more miles later on just because I'm tight on time, but I also wanted to get up a video. And I wanted to start making these a little more positive. So we can spread the positivity around. And some things I may say can be taken as negative, but what it is me trying to give positive reinforcement. And what do I mean by that? Well, for instance, instead of, because a lot of people I personally know are wrapped up in entertainment, and I don't like, when I say that, I don't mean like, when I say personally, I don't mean just like, family. I mean like friends, co-workers, a lot of people in general are really wrapped up in entertainment. And I know that everyone needs that outlet, an escape from reality for a day. That's why as kids we have toys and we make up these scenarios in our head and kind of come up with plots and stuff like that as a child. I had G.I. Joes and Transformers and all that cool stuff, and that's what I did. That's what all my friends did. We would go outside and we would play, like war and stuff like that, and not everyone had a toy gun. You'd run around with sticks, you know what I mean? It was all about imagination. But the issue I have is that as we grow up into adulthood, a lot of people are too wrapped up in entertainment as a whole. And I want to see people take their lives more seriously, take their health more seriously, and the people around them. Like, for instance, I mentioned that I have a 5K, right? And in the grand scheme of things, a 5K is a very short run. It's not long. It's only 3 miles. And I know that some people may take that incorrectly and be like, well, that's a lot for me. And I get that. We all start somewhere. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not. It's really not. It's less than 10,000 steps in a day. And I'm not going to say it's easy for everyone to do right off the bat. But the problem is, I don't see anyone really doing anything even remotely close to it. Not saying that you need to be in a runner's mindset, but health and fitness in general. What I do see constantly is, man, did you see the episode of blah 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 last night? Or, man, are you going to go see whatever movie this weekend? And when you think about it, movies are not cheap. A bucket of popcorn is more than a movie ticket. And all that money you could be putting towards yourself and your family. So think about this, right? Let's say even if you go once a month, right? you take your family out. If you got kids, it's even more expensive. I mean, you're talking upwards of $70 to $100. Now, in a year, that's $1,200 that you could put towards you, your family, and just the betterment of your life. Now, again, like I said before, I know that people need to do this kind of stuff once in a while. It helps us decompress, which is great. But the thing is when people take it and do it in excess, it's like drinking. You don't want to constantly put your body through the stress of constant intoxication. And that's not just alcohol, that's, like in the form of other stuff. I want to say a lot of different things, but I put these on YouTube, and who knows would get offended and report the videos. But intoxication in many different facets. If your entire life is you worrying about being intoxicated, you really need to look in the mirror and think about things. And that's not a negative, that's a positive. I'm trying to tell you to take your own life into better consideration, because whatever you're putting into your body isn't worth it in excess. And I know that some people will try and push the argument of, well, there's studies out saying that this doesn't affect me this way and that doesn't affect me this way, and I'm going to challenge that, because constantly taking hits to your dopamine receptors in your head psychologically messes you up in the long run. And that's not even arguable. That's proven science. That's why people end up getting obese, because they have certain combinations of food triggering them same dopamine receptors in their brain. I mean, they've correlated a lot of studies where it's like, specific combinations of things trigger chemicals in your brain to go off, and you get happy and excited because your brain's pushing out the chemicals to make you feel that way. And again, once in a while, not a bad thing. I like to indulge once in a while. But the reason I've been able to stay healthy and keep all my weight off and stuff like that is because moderation is key. I mean, I used to down enormous amounts of caffeine on a daily basis. I don't do that anymore. And that's just coffee. Like, limiting a lot of that stuff will help you in the long run, because you no longer take it as an everyday occurrence, and now you take it as a reward, which is what it should be. Now, I have no issue with someone saying, like, my morning cup of coffee, great. But even coffee, if your morning cup of coffee has turned into 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, now you're drinking coffee until 3 in the afternoon, and then you turn around and you have issues with sleeping, well, it's because you have 500 milligrams of caffeine pulsing through your veins. It only has, like a 12-hour half-life? So, by the time you go to bed, because you've been drinking coffee until 3 in the afternoon, you still have all that pumping through your body, which is something I had to learn the hard way. Before, when I was overweight, caffeine didn't affect me like that. It was, I could drink a Monster Energy drink and then go to sleep. But that was because I was in unhealthy, that was it. I was unhealthy. And my body was not treating caffeine like it should. Whereas now, if I drink caffeine, I can go run faster than I could without it. It's crazy how different it affects my body now. And that's because I weaned myself off of the crazy amount that I was drinking. But I'm also I'm nowhere near as heavy. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, think about it. I need to stop using that term, but think about it. Overall, I ended up losing 250 pounds. And yeah, I put a couple of pounds back on, but I kind of just hover around 180 now. That's kind of my body's set point. If I go less than that, I end up hungry sometimes. So I kind of just hover around 180 while my body is still, doing the whole transformation. I'm still seeing fat in some areas that I had that was really problematic, transforming to muscle. But that's besides the point. What I'm getting at is the same amount of caffeine that I drink now would have affected me completely differently if I had, 250 pounds more on my frame like I used to have. But also, my metabolism now is way higher. It goes through my body faster, but that's also because I do a ton of running. And basically what I'm trying to get at is save the money that you're dumping into these corporations' hands, because think about it, right? When it comes to the end of the day, they're not going to know you. They're not going to know your name. They're not giving you shout outs in their movies. They're not giving you shout outs when they're on TV. They couldn't care less about me, you, or the next guy. All they want is your money, because they want to stay in power. And what is a better way to stay in power than make people willingly hand their money over, hand over fist, but also at the same time inject small little seeds into your brain that are going to adjust your thought process in the long run. And I'm not just saying there's agenda-driven content out there, because we all know there is. It doesn't matter what side of the fence you sit on, all of it has some form of an agenda tied to it. Now, that's not to say that, all these movie makers and corporations are the devil, but a lot of them are there to keep the public dumbed down and pretty much keep you in check. And you don't have to agree with me. I know some won't. But when you sit and think about it, it's kind of hard to really argue it. A lot of us are struggling. Inflation's going through the roof. And how much money have any of these corporations with these bigwigs up top, how many of them have dumped their money back into our economy to help everyone else out? Because I can tell you it's none. And I'm not just talking about like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and all. No. Because there's more people out there than just them two. They are not going to cure world hunger. That's a myth that has been debunked over and over. That's not how the world works. But instead of just demonizing them two people, look at these other people out there that have millions of dollars who are also jumping on the bandwagon of demonizing these guys. Am I saying they're saints? Also no. But at the same time, it's hard for me to really take somebody seriously that has tens, hundreds of millions of dollars who turn around and bring these two specific people up while also doing nothing for anyone. Kind of hard for me to take somebody like that seriously who's making bank off of the same people that they're preaching at, to listen to them and how these other people should hand over their money while they're also living lavishly off of everybody else. Think about it. That's the point. So rather than sitting behind a screen or on your phones, handing your money over to these people, whether it's the entertainment as like movies or video games or music, instead of handing your money over to them like you do, a couple of those weeks that you were going to do something like that, use it for yourself. Because in the long run, you're the one who earned it. They didn't. They didn't go and work your job for the week. You did. So use it for you and your family. Because, again, when it comes down to it, do you really think that concert you're going to see, you think that dude on stage or woman on stage is really going to know who you are? I mean, half of them can't even get the city that they're playing in right while they're on stage. Do you really think they're going to know who you are, that person in that city? I'm going to tell you no. But again, positive reinforcement. I want to see you better you, and not better the pockets of someone that doesn't need it, but they're standing there with a handout waiting for you to hand over your paycheck. Because that's the opposite of positive. All that's doing is making your bank account negative. And until the next one,